I will take you step by step from the very beginning until you have this automatic material to create a landscape in minutes. We will go through the very basics of landscape like the size and sculpting basics. Then we will learn Gaea to create realistic terrains in another software and learn how to import tile landscapes to create big worlds. Then we will go through Landmass, the procedural solution to create landscapes inside Unreal. And then we will create our automatic landscape material where we will learn how to blend our textures nicely. We will go through some of the most hot topic features like displacement in Unreal Engine 5 and virtual texturing to increase the details of our landscapes. And in the end, we will create a master material you can download for free to create any landscape. So by the end of this video, you should be confident with landscape creation in Unreal Engine 5. So check the link in the description to get the material for free. Oh, and by the way, make sure you check our store. We have a lot of cool stuff, like a free course to learn blueprints, modeling a castle in Unreal Engine, and of course a lot of Unreal Marketplace packages made with a lot of effort. So let's continue. Okay, so let's start with the very basics, which is how do I navigate in Unreal? If you are already familiar with Unreal, feel free to skip this part. But if you're new, I will give you some navigation tips you can use in order to make your life easier here. First off, you press the right mouse click, and then with W, S, A, and D, you can move the camera. Then with the left mouse click, you can rotate around and orbit. If you move the mouse as you hold the left mouse click, you will be able to orbit. Then, if you want to focus on any object, let's click on this, press F, and you will, with Alt and left mouse click, you will rotate around the object. And you can do the same with another object, click F, Alt, left click, and you will orbit around the object. All right, so this is just the basics of navigation, and once you get used with it, it will be very simple. The next thing I want to show you is the camera speed. This will be very helpful to check our landscapes, since they can be very big. If you increase the camera speed, of course, my camera will be faster, but also you can hold the right mouse click and then the middle mouse, you can scroll down. And as you move, you will become slower, and you can scroll up to become faster and move with W or S in this case. And this is just a very basic. Another thing that will be helpful for us is just the different modes like top, left, or perspective. And that's pretty much it. So let's start talking about landscape sizes, because it's a topic that a lot of people are asking. So let's create a new level. Click on this one, and you will have exactly this. So what I will do is just delete this, and you can also go to a word outliner and delete the actors you don't want. Okay, and in this tab you will see that you have the activate landscape editing mode. You click on here, and you will see that you have a preview of the size of your landscape. Okay, so let's move so you can take a look at what's happening. Okay, so here what's going on is that you're creating a landscape that have 8x8 components, and you can see it here, number of components 8x8, and what you will have is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which give you a total of 64 components. Okay, components are important in a way that you can load and unload components based on distance. So if your landscape is very big, you will load this component here and unload the ones that are very far. Let me put this one to 63 quads. Okay, as you can see, the number of quads determine the number of how big our landscape is. So in this case, 63 quads means that I have 64 vertex here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., until I get until 63 squares, okay? But if you notice, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 vertex. In total, we have 64 vertex, okay? So what happens here is that when we reach to this point, when we want to go to another component, the vertex that is here will be weld so that you don't have another vertex overlapping this area. Okay, so in total, we're losing 1 vertex for each component that is here in the inside. Now, what size is this landscape? Well, here you can see in the overall resolution if 505 by 505. Let me create this landscape by tapping the create button, okay? So this is our landscape. I will click on activate editing mode, okay? And it's really hard to know exactly what size this is. So if I go here to the top view and I scroll up and keep scrolling up, you will see that I have my landscape here. And with the middle mouse click, you can click and you can have a rough idea of how big this landscape is. It's around 50,000 centimeters, which makes it 500 kilometers actually. So let's go back to our perspective and let's make sure this one is here, this one is in origin. So let's go back to create shapes, create a cube and put it here, and let's put it in the origin. Okay, we really cannot see the cube, but let's go to our top view, and this cube is 100 centimeters width. Okay, so if I put 505 here, you will see that my cube is basically 500 meters, I believe. Yes, meters. So it's 100 centimeters. And if you multiply by 505, then you have 500 meters. Basically, this is the meters. Okay. So why is this important to us is to know which size we will import our landscape. Let me delete this. Okay, and I will import another file. We will take a look at this later. I will take a look at this one and then click on this one. You will see that my landscape is 2017 by 2017. And as you can see, if I click on feed to data, I will have automatically my landscape will put to the right size. Now, this size is 2000. It's basically 2 kilometers, okay? And the reason is 2017 is because we're merging the vertex. So let's go to our calculator. And here, if I say I have 64 vertex by 8 components, I have 512. And then I just need to subtract the vertex that are inside, which is basically the number -1. So in this case is 8. And then I will put -7 is 505. I can do the same for the rest ones, like 64 by 16 components, 1k kilometers, minus 15, 1009. And I can do the same, 64, 32, 2 kilometers minus 31 is 2k. Exactly is 2017, which is exactly the number you have here. So if I click on new, okay, you will see that I can reach the same size using different methods. For example, I can put by 63 by 63, and I can multiply. I can put 2 sections per component. Basically, we're splitting this into 4. Okay, 1 and 2. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. Okay, total 4. And I'm doing 16 components, which is 1 to 16. Okay, if I want to still have 2 kilometers, I can do one section. Okay, and I can multiply this by 32 by 32. And I have 2 kilometers. Now, you ask, which one is the right way? Well, that depends on the size of your landscape. There are different ways. For example, I can put 127 quads, and I can put 16 by 16. And I can have something like this. I can just go back to the defaults, okay? So Unreal already give you a suggestion of how many quads you want depending on the size of your landscape. And if you go to the Unreal documentation here, you will see, and this is very easy, I will put a link in the description, Landscape Technical Guide. You will see here that they recommend you, if you want to have like 4K kilometers, then you can have 63 quads, okay? And then sections per component is 2 by 2 sections, and then you can just put 63, total components 32. So I can put 32 by 32, and I will have a 4K map, okay? And this is what they recommend, okay? So depending on the size of your map, you may want to follow this guide, okay? And this is what will give you best results, okay? So this is it for the landscape size. It's very important to know this at the beginning. So now we're going to take a look at why is this important, because we're going to use external actors, okay? Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the world partition. The first thing we need to do is to go to Edit, Project Settings, and then we will type World Partition. And you will see here that I have Enable World Partition. I click this one, Enable, and I restart the engine. And once you do that, you will be able to use World Partition. So before doing that, make sure you go to World Settings and put External Actors and click this one. By default, this will be on, okay? This is very important. They work hand to hand. So I will create a landscape and I will import a texture. Instead of creating a new one, I will import one from a file, and we will take a look this one later when we check Gaea. We will take a look at the whole process, do not worry. So I already have one, don't worry, we will check how we can create one, okay? Okay, let's just create a new one for now. Okay, so this is it, and I will sculpt something here, just so I can take a look at something here. There you go, something like this, okay? All right, so I have my landscape here. So when I play, and I have some assets that I created, I add feature content pack, and I added my vehicle advance, by the way, so I can take a look at how I can play with this. Normally you wouldn't have this, I have, so it can have a nice way to navigate into our landscape. So just click this one, add to project, and inside of here in my world settings, I will just go here and put my vehicle advanced escape mode, okay? So just by doing that, just click here and you will see that I have my vehicle. And now let's lower the volume here. Real-time audio, it's okay. So as you can see, I can move around and I have my landscape and everything is loaded. So you see that I have different components here, and now that I have my external actors enabled, I have different proxies that I can load and unload on real time depending on the distance. So if I go to Window and go to World Partition, you will see that I have nothing here. So what I will do is save this, and let's create a new folder called maybe mastering landscapes. Okay, and here we will put a new maps, and here I will create this one like as you say, world partition test. Okay, just like that. Okay, so I will create a new level and I will open this one. Okay, all right. Now that we have this for world partition test, you will see that I cannot see anything. And the reason is I need to go to my world partition and I need to load everything. So I can load the selected cells. Okay, now my world partition already have 2 components in each side. So if I decide to unload this, you will see that here I unload this part of the landscape. If I here unload, I will unload this part. Or I can just select this and load, and you will see that I have all my components enabled. So if you go here to world partition, you can take a look here if you want. It will be easier. Now, why is this important? Now, let's create a new level, okay? Let's just create an empty one. Or, okay, the default one. So, let's go here. This will be my test 2, okay? Let's create a new landscape. And world partition components per landscape is 2. Okay, I can put 1 or any number I want. So, in this case, I will create a larger one. Let's create a 2 by 2, and let's put 177, and then let's put 16 by 16, something like that. Very big, 32 by 32. Okay, there you go. So click create. This will create a super big landscape. Wait a little bit. This is as big as it can get. Okay. Now, if you have really big landscapes, and normally if you try landscapes before and you try a small one, it will be very light. But if you have very big landscapes and you have a lot of actors to load in your level, it can take a while to load. So let's do the same. Let's do brush size. By the way, I'm gonna explain this later. Just do not panic. Okay, so just click here. As you can see, it's already very slow. Okay, just like that. Now, let's save this, and I will save all my external actors. And you will see that I have a lot of proxies. Okay, so I have all these proxies here. There are a lot, actually. There are a lot of components here. And that's very heavy. And this will make our game look like our FPS will go really low. So now that we have this, you can see that I can have my world partition here, and I have my landscape here. So I can do this and load, and this will load some part of my landscape, not everything. And as I continue, I can load these parts, okay? And I can continue to load more. So this is extremely powerful, because if I check unload, and then I will load these ones, I can just go to my landscape and sculpt. It's still a little bit heavy, actually, but it's easier to work with because everything is unloaded, and it will be very easy to work in this part of our open world. As I continue to work, I can load these cells, and I can unload these ones if I want it. Okay, save. Okay, download all of this, and you get the idea. So this is how world partition works. At a glance, it's just a very basics. The way landscape works is that you will have your proxies, and each component will be part of a cell in your world partition. Depending on how many components you have, you may load more than one, but in this case, it's very handful for very big environments. Okay, so let's start with some sculpting basics. So let's go back to our landscape and let's create a new one. I will create a new landscape, and this one will be, just for the sake of demonstration, we will put this like maybe 8 by 8 of 1 kilometer. Okay, and then let's click create. Now that we do that, let's save this and let's call it sculpt test, like that. Okay, so now that it's saved, we have our landscape proxies here. And now let's take a look at the sculpting tools. Let's go back this to the defaults. Okay, and by default, the sculpting tool here, this tab has a bunch of options. But by default, it's the sculpt one. So let's take a look at this one. First is the sculpt. So if I click on this one, you will see that I can sculpt here. And as holding, it will go up and up, up. Okay. Notice that doing this will stretch the UV, so be aware of how high you want your landscape. Okay. So if I hold Shift, I will go inwards. Say I want to make a hold or here, then I can just hold Shift, or I can hold Shift here to make this one smaller. Okay, I can also hold Control. Okay, we'll sculpt, Shift, that's it. Okay, so another important tool here for the sculpting is the smooth. So I can just click here and I will smooth my transition. This will smooth everything. It's very important. Okay, so the sculpt mode, you can actually increase the strength. For example, I can put something like 1, and when I sculpt, this will be very strong. But at the same time, if I decrease the strength, I want to have something more subtle like this, I can just click here and just make some small changes in my environment. Another thing I have is to change the brush size. I can either use the brackets, make it bigger or smaller, or I can just change the brush size. Now, if you have a very big landscape, maybe 8,000 won't be enough if you want, but you can actually make this number any number you want. For example, 16,000. And this will be very big. So you can have some big strokes here going on. Okay, let's go back to the default. And of course, the brush fall off, this will make it really smooth or really harsh. If I put a very soft fall off, as I sculpt, this will have a very smooth transition. And at the same time, if I make this really harsh, I will make this brush very hard. Okay, very smooth and very harsh. Another thing I have is the clay brush. This is just another type of painting. So if I paint here, you will see that I have a different result. It's very nice actually. If you want to sculpt different kinds of surfaces, the paintbrush, the clay brush give you a much more natural feeling. All right. So the next thing is my brush type. You can import any texture you want. For example, I import this from some free resources I found on the internet. So I can just click on this and I can actually remove the clay brush and increase the tool's strength to something like, I don't know, 10. If I click here, you will see that I have a small mountain. So let me increase the brush size of one, for example, something like 16,000. Okay, now I can just click here, click twice, and now I can have small mountain here. So you're not only attached to use the default brush, you can have your own alphas, and you can import your own textures if you want. Okay. Um, this one I really don't use. Okay, and this one I also don't use. So the next thing I want to show you is the flatten one. The flatten one is very important. And when you want to create levels, the flatten one is extremely useful. For example, let's just say I want to have a house here. So let's go here. Let's create a cube here. My shapes cube, and I'm gonna drag it and make it big, just like that. And say this is my tower. Okay. So what I want to have is a small ground for my town here. So what I will do is to use the flatten brush. The flatten brush will select any particular height that I just click, and it will just flatten. So let me reduce the size of this, and I will click and take a look. And this is basically what it does. It puts everything on the same level. And now I have something to put some architecture. Okay, and the same thing can be done here. For example, I can flatten this to make this one on the same height. It's really useful for architecture, or when you want to have really simple collision. You don't want any bumpiness here. For example, here you have a lot of bumpiness. You can just go to your flatten brush and everything will be flat. Another thing you can do with your flatten brush is to use flatten target. And you can just grab the eyedropper and you can select the height. For example, you want to select this height here. Automatically you will have a grid here that will allow you to use the flatten and up to this height. So what you can do is to basically click here, and it's very useful when you have like different levels of height in your level. Let's say you want to have another platform here where your player wants to jump. So when I go here, this and this is in the same height, and I can continue to do this. It will replace all the data of my landscape here. Okay, just like that. And everything will be on the same height. I can, of course, make this manually. Like, for example, I can make it really height, like that. Okay. And or I can make it lower. All right. So that's it for the flatten brush. Let's take a look at the ramp. The ramp is extremely useful. The ramp allows you to create what it just says is the ramp. So if I just click here and then click on this one, you will see that I have a preview with two icons here. The first one will be my starting point, and the last one will be my endpoint, and it will create a ramp. So if I can move this one, for example, I can put it here if I want it, and I can just move it to any place I want. Actually, it will snap to my surface. Once I'm happy with the result, I can just click enter, and you will see that I have a ramp. So if I play here, my car, you will see that I have a small ramp I can play with my car. Okay, so that's the ramp. And of course, you can play with the features. For example, let me click on this one and this one. Let's create a ramp. Let's move this one here. Okay, and we can change the width, make it really thin or really wide. And of course, we can change the fall off. For example, I can make it really harsh. So when I click enter, like everything is very harsh. Let me control Z. I can do it very smooth. So for example, this is the path, very narrow, and this will have a very smooth transition. And then when you want to create another one, just click here and here, move into position, click OK, and this is how you will connect different parts of your landscape. So the next one is the erosion. Personally, I don't use it that much because if I want to have more realistic results, I will come with some alphas or some data. But like, for example, here, erosion basically will give you some eroded look like this. It will apply some noise here. Typically, landscapes don't really end up really harsh like this. So doing the erosion will make your landscape look a little bit more realistic like this. You'll see that I have this path that is naturally doing the transition into my main ground here. So erosion can be quite useful to make some tweaks here and there. Okay. Hydro erosion is pretty much the same, but it just simulates like it's hydro erosion caused by rainfall. Use that. Okay. And the noise, of course, it will add noise to your terrain. So for example, if I noise scale my brush size, I can just go here and I can add some noise. I can decrease the noise scale so it can be very small, like that. And personally, I like to use this to add some detail. For example, I can use my brush size. I can decrease the tool strength, the noise. Okay, I can actually use something like this, where I can just use tool strength. And I can just add some noise here if I want. Okay. And then I can go to my smooth. And I can do something like this to have some variation in my terrain. All right. The next one is a retopo. So if you click here, you will see that I have some stretch polygons. So as I do this, it will do the best to relax the polygons to make it more equal. For example, here, if I do retopo, you will see that I have more even distribution of quads here. And here it's very long. Okay, it will try to maintain the same data you have, but it will try to, put a little bit, try to make the quads more even. Especially in this kind of situation, it can be useful if you want. Okay. The next one is the visibility. So if I click on this one, let's say, okay, let's just ignore the visibility for now. We need to put the material first. So let's go to our copy. The copy is extremely fun. So as you can see, you can have a gizmo here, and as I move it, I can scale this if I want. And let's go back to this mode. Let's try to copy all this. So as I copy this with W, E, and R, I change the gizmo. Okay. And what I can do is to copy the data to gizmo. Okay. And now that I have some data, I can just move it. And I can rotate. I can scale it if I want. And I can just press Ctrl V. And just like you paste any other 3D application, you will paste this data. And you can move it around, Ctrl V, okay? And here you can Ctrl C, okay, to copy this data, and Ctrl V, and this is how you can have same data here, okay? So if I take a look, you will see that this one is the same as this one, and this data has been grabbed from this one, okay? So let's go back to our landscape. The next one, it's the mirror. You can see I will mirror my landscape. Of course, I can change where I want to mirror. I can recenter. I can just hit apply. And you will see that my landscape is perfectly mirrored. And This may be something you want or not, but the option is there if you want to mirror your landscape. Okay, and the next one is, of course, just the select. You can mask some areas here. So when I sculpt here with very strong values, you will see that here I cannot paint here my selection. Let's clear the selection, and you will see that here I cannot make any changes because I'm masking my mask. Okay, I'm masking my terrain, and if I want to protect this area, I can just paint here. So this will allow me to use paint in any other area without affecting this area. So this is it for the sculpt mode. As you can see, it has a lot of handy tools. But if you want to make a more realistic terrain, you may want to use other software such as War Machine or Gaea. So we're going to take a look at that now. So when it comes to creating a realistic landscape, usually the solution is another 3D app that generates a height map. I'm going to show you the ones that are the most popular, and I will show you some difference. So basically, World Machine is one of the most common ones. It has been in the industry for many years, and to be honest, it's fairly good actually. Personally, I don't like the user interface that much, but it's free, and personally, I didn't find any limitations in the free version. But if you want to buy it, these are the prices, like $100 for the ED one, and then the other ones may be beyond the budget. Second option, of course, this one is the best for me and the most professional. If you want to integrate it in a very, very big project, Houdini can create really nice height maps, and you can have control over almost any kind of procedural feature you want to put in your landscape. So Houdini is really nice, although it's extremely expensive. You can see the numbers are really high. So of course, the free edition, you can play with it, but you cannot export. You can only export like very low resolution files. And the next one, it's the quad spinner Gaea, which is my preference. And it's what I'm going to show you now. Although I use Gaea, the different softwares are really, really similar in terms of what the things they can do inside. It's just about preference, actually. So for Gaea, I'm using the indie one. And yeah, they let you use more than 2 PCs at once. Want to share it with your friends, you can collect some money, and there you go, you got Gaea. So you actually have the community that is free, and it's very generous. They allow you to export 1K terrains, and the indie one allows you up to 4K, the one I have. And the next one, of course, basically much bigger terrains. Okay, so let's go to Gaea. So let's go to Quad Spinner Gaea, and this is the first thing you will see. So you will see the viewport, which is what the landscape will look like. And of course, they give you some setup first, so you can have a look at how it will look like with these nodes. So the viewport is really simple. You just middle mouse click, and you will orbit. Just the middle mouse scroll up and down to zoom in and out. Then if you hold Alt and left, you will rotate the camera. And that's pretty much it. Okay, so let's start with the interface. At the right, you have the properties of the nodes. Here you have the toolbox. Okay, the toolbox allows you to create different nodes. Okay, for example, I can drag something like this. and you will see that this one is selected. My viewport will update. Okay, or I can press tab here and type Perlin, and I can create my Perlin noise here. Now, those are the two ways you can create nodes. You can delete by just pressing the delete key, and here you can preview different nodes just by clicking the nodes. You will see the preview here. The graph is very simple. Just middle mouse click and middle mouse scroll. You will zoom in and out. That's really basic actually. And with left mouse click, you can drag and move the nodes. So basically, these are the how the graph works. And here in the viewport, you have the 3D and the 2D. The 2D view is very useful actually to take a look at the top-down view of how your world will look like. Have a better planning. For example, you want to have some houses here and then like a castle in the middle and this kind of stuff. Okay, so this will be very useful from time to time. We will take a look at it later. The next one is the lighting. You can change the sun. This will change the shadows, of course, the direction of the shadows. And of course, you can put water if you want. Take a look at how it will look if it had water. Because so you can take a look at the height level. And you can put the level here to take a look at the height map. So basically, the brightest colors will be like basically not really the height map, sorry. This is the shadows will be more contrasty, so you can take a look at the forms better. So here's very subtle, here is has much more contrast, so you can take a look at the plane change of your environment. Okay, so that's it. This will you toggle the grid, and this will toggle the skybox, of course. We'll just leave it like that for now. So when it comes to creating your landscapes, there are several ways you can do it here. So first you have the primitive, okay? And you have a bunch of options. I won't go into all of them, but I will go through the most important ones. For example, one is the Perlin noise, which we took a look earlier. This one will, of course, do the Perlin noise. If you take a look at the 2D, it will be very obvious. So the scale will determine the size. So if I put a smaller one, see that my noise gets like bigger here, smaller noise. Therefore, it's repeating less times. And if I put the scale like this, it will make it very small. Okay. The octaves will determine the roughness of it. If I reduce it, you will see that it becomes very smooth. So these primitives allow you to have a base to work with. Another thing you can have is, of course, change the noise. You can play with it to have any setting you want. And this one is a very important value, is the seed one. With the seed, you can change randomly the values. So you can experiment with different results. And of course, you can have some procedural results here. The next thing you may want to do, once you have your main shapes, this is what we call the main shapes because it's the primitive, you want to put some erosion. And the erosion here, what it will do is to simulate real behavior. So now you can see, if you take a look at the Perlin noise, it looks very, it was made by a computer, of course, but if you put the erosion, it will add the natural feeling that the landscape have, because it rains and a lot, the water will create these flows. Okay, so we will take a look at the erosion later, but basically this is the workflow. You want to have your main shapes and then you want to add the detail. Another important one for games is the draw mode. So in the draw mode, you will see it, I have nothing. But if I click edit guides, I can paint here. For example, I can paint like this. And I can continue. For example, I want to cover this area. I don't want anyone to come here. I will put like a mountain here. And then I will put something here. Okay. Then I will put another one here, like that. Okay. Right. Then I can continue. And keep painting here. Just like that. And that's pretty much it. Okay. So with the draw mode, you can basically have control over your terrain, the layout, and of course you can change the height and make it smaller or higher. You can change this one, this pro. Okay, you can change the displacement to make it higher or more dense or lower. Okay, and of course you can click here. This part is common in all the nodes. If I click levels, it will clamp the values from 0 to 1. Okay, if I check my height map, it will be a value from 0, which is black, to white. Normally, when you don't have this, the values can go to a grayscale value. And of course, what you can do is put the clamp node and the levels, and then the clamp node, you lower it down, you'll just make it lower, like that. Okay? And this is basically a post-processing of your image. Now, let's say you have these two. You have your Perlin noise, and you have your draw. What can you do? Well, you can combine them. You can have a little bit of this, and let's change the octaves. For example, I want thing like this. And the scale, I'm going to make it something like that. Okay. Now what I will do is to put the combine. So I will press tab, combine. Okay. And I will just click on this one and this one. And this will combine the two. Now, by default, I will have my blend here, which is basically a mix of the two of them. If I reduce the ratio, I will have my draw mode here, basically, is 0. We're using this one. And if the ratio is 100, we're using the Perlin. So 50% will give us a mix of the two of them. But the blend mode is not the only blend mode that it exists. You also have the add, another operation, subtract, multiply, which will give more detail to your mesh here. For example, like this, you don't have any noise Perlin, and here you're multiplying the Perlin noise with your current quantiles. You can divide. You can use the max, which will be a nicer combine. You can use the minimum, square, and so on. I will use the max for now. I think it's really nice. Hey, let's save this by clicking save. Let's put this as 06 mastering landscape. Okay, so before continuing, what I want to show you is that you can change the size. You can either do it now, and when you click on build, you can change the size here. For example, here, I can use this one, and I will compute all the nodes and have a bigger resolution. By default, this one doesn't have much resolution. So what I can do is to put 2K here, and now it will compute all the nodes again, and it will give me a higher resolution. Okay. So once Once you do that, then I will have a higher resolution terrain, and you will see here it's loading. And there you go. Now my terrain is much higher resolution, which is something that looks a little bit more pretty. Okay. So in the next step, I'm going to show you how we can create the landscape for this project. We're going to create an open world. So we're going to take a look at other nodes. So the next thing I will do is to put a mountain here. I will just put this one here. And you will see that it will create a mountain. Let it load a little bit. Remember that we're using K. Okay. So what I want to do is to basically scale this like that. Okay. Can change the edge a little bit. And of course, you can change the type to something different. For example, you can put the smooth. Which will be something like you may want to see in Dune or something you may want. For me, I will just put the display set and I will change the type of the terrain. For example, let's try the A1. Okay. Try the B1. Okay. And now what I will do is go to levels. This will create a big mountain like that. Very cool, actually. But usually you don't have this kind of mountains in real life. Very strange. So what we will do is below levels, we will clamp and we will put something like this. Okay. Then we will go to the transform to see if we can move it a little bit. Let's here to transform. And I will change the position. I will move on X. Like this. Okay. Just like that. Great. Another way, I have my mountain. I will put it here. And I will blend this. Blend. Sorry, combine. And I will combine this one and this one. There you go. And now I have like a mountain here. So what I will do is to put max. This will give me basically my mountain here from this part, and this part is more flat, which is what I want. Okay, so the next thing we can do is to put a crater. I will go here. Like that. And actually, I can combine this here first. So let's combine. Let's see how it looks like. Okay, and let's change the blending mode. Minimum, maybe. Multiply. Not really what I'm looking for. Let's go to minimum. Or let's go to byte. Byte's not gonna make it. Great. Something like that, maybe. Okay, never mind. So let's say we have our mountain here. Another thing you can do is, of course, is play with those. For example, we can play with the badlands here. This will give us some interesting looks like that. Very cool. Very cool. So what I can do is combine those two. Let's combine this one, and what I can do is add, maybe just string. Okay, this one actually destroys everything. But the other one I want to do is the slope. Okay, so the slope here, we're gonna take a look at the mountain. Mountain is here. Oh, the slope, I'm gonna change the direction. Let's put 90 degrees, like that. And we're going to clamp it. We're going to reduce this a lot, like this. And we can change the noise to stratified. It will change the look of it. Okay, like that. And what you can do is, of course, combine and just with those combined and use the primitive, you can create your basic shapes. Let's combine those two. And let's maybe minimum or max. Okay, or multi, and reduce the ratio. One will give slope, and this one will give. Okay, so this is basically the workflow. I'm happy with this actually. So what I will do is to put the erosion node. So to put the erosion is very simple. The erosion is a very special node. Here, what you will have is your erosion. So if you click on this one, it will take a while to load. Okay, and now you can see I have a much more natural result here. Okay, and what I can do is, of course, change the random sedimentation to make it more realistic. And you notice that here I have a lock. This is my auto apply. By default, this node is very heavy, so it doesn't really load, make the changes affect the landscape once I change a property. So I need to click on apply change. If you don't want to do that, just click on the auto apply. But as you can see, it's a little bit different. I think it was too much. So let's apply changes again. Okay, nice. Another thing I can do actually is to put the alluvium, which is like it put like sand on top or something like that, which is very nice. So let's take a look at this. Take a while to load. The result is really nice. Now you can see that it's much more natural, has a much more natural look. Okay, great. I really like how our terrain is looking. So what we're gonna do is to export this. So there are two ways to export this. Actually, If you're using Unreal Engine 4 and you're not bleeding into tiles, then you will use this one. In my case, I need to enable tiles because we are using for partition in Unreal. So if I click new level, time of day, let's just not save this, we don't need it. Let's delete the actors that come by default. And what we will do is to save this level, and this will be my map open world, right? So here, what I will do is my export resolution is 2K, okay? If you're not using tiles, you need to resample this 2617, okay? And you can click on enable tiles and you will see that this one is grayed out. And the reason is we're going to use the tiles. So how many tiles do I want? Well, I can either put 4x4 and I can put a resolution of 512, or I can put a resolution of 128 and I will have 16 tiles, which is what I will do. And I will resample this to 127. Once I have this, I need to right click and then mark for export. Here I will put the format I want. PNG works and also RAW works. I will put that RAW for now, okay? And my file name will be my landscape height, like that, okay? And once I do that, I will just start building. And it says that the preview resolution is the same resolution I already built. So I can use the catch data I already have. And there you go. I have my landscape data. Okay. Now inside Unreal, I will create a tile 16 by 16. So I will just go here and go to my landscape. And here I will import from file. And I will try to look for my projects here. My Gaea builds mastering landscapes 001. I will click on this one. Okay. And here I will take a look at the tiles here, 16 by 16. I will put it here, 16 by 16. I have a 2K by 2K. And it's using 63 quads, which means I will use 2K resolution, the exact resolution I want. And then I just click import. But before that, we need to scale our landscape. So I find that 300 is a good number for Gaea. Scale the landscape for the height. So let's do that. Click import. And let's wait a little bit. There you go. Now we have our landscape here. And if I go here and save, I will have my landscape. And of course here, my grid is not loading when I play, but I play from here, the grid loading, so on and so on. So we will take a look at that later. But for now, we already have our landscape import into Unreal, and it's very nice. It has a lot of nice shapes. I like it. It's very unique. So the next thing we're going to do is to modify this landscape a little bit inside Unreal using Landmass. So another important feature of the landscapes is the landmass. And in order to have the landmass, first you need to go to Edit, Plugins, then type landmass. And here you need to enable it. I already have, so I don't need to restart. But once you do it, you just restart the editor and you will have the landmass. So how do you activate landmass? Well, let's go to your landscape. Let's create a new one just so we can test. Okay, so just like this, what I will do is to enable edit layers, which we didn't last time. So we recreate our landscape. So once we do that, it will create the landscape. Okay. And now that we have this, we can sculpt as usual, like this, for example, or we can use something more sophisticated. So the first thing I'm gonna do is to right click and create a new layer. And then we will call this landmass. You can call it anything you want. But you notice that here I have a new option called blueprint. And this blueprint will give me some options. It will give me some blueprints presets that I have for the landmass. For now, I will only have the custom brush landmass. I will just click on this. And once I do that, I use click here. And you will see that I have small mountain here. Now, another thing you can see is that you have some spline points. So if I go here and I change the points, you will see that my landscape changed. So I can right click in one of the splines and add a spline point here and go here. And I can do the same here to add another spline point, just like that. I can also go out of this mode and try to find my brush. I can make it bigger or smaller, go into different direction. And I can move it to anywhere I want, just like that. Okay, so let's take a look at the properties of the landmass. So the first thing is that you can cap the shape. Okay, and you notice that I lose my mountain shape. So if you want to make a little bit higher, just play with the height here, just like that. You can also play with the Z offset, let's say 512. Okay, instead of doing it manually, you can just play with the offset if you want. Then you have the fall off. If I put 0, then you won't have any fall off here. If I put this, okay, change the fall off. Okay, then you have the width. Different fall off actually. So actually this one will work with the width. So if I have 512, it will just look like that, not fall off from here. I can just 1K and so on. But I will put angle first, okay, and I will remove the cap shape. I can also invert the shape if I want. Have something like this. I can just move it up and down depending on what I want to create, okay? So just be aware that this kind of thing can really affect your landmass. So be aware of that. Another thing is the max blend. You can put the max blend or the minimum blend or the additive mode, which we will take a look at where we have more complex landscape. So going down, we have the effects, which is what this tool is about. You have the blur size, so if you want a more blurry shape, you can put something like 10. If we make it more blurry, I will leave it at 2 for now. You have the curl strength. Be aware that this one you need to remove. Just play with the values here, not so high, like 0.5, 0.2. You put something like 3, you will definitely break your landmass. Go back to our landmass again. Let's put something like 0.5. And then you have a secondary noise like 0.3. Put this on for 0.3, 6 here, 7. And we can actually make this one bigger too. So we can take a look at the noise better. So let's go back here. The noise, you can change it like this. You can play with it till you have a shape you want. Okay, and something like this could be. Core noise styling, I have like something like 32 or 2. I like to leave it at 5, but basically this will give you some options to make your mountain. So the next one is the displacement. You can put like some noise here. If I put 1K, we'll have like this. 4K, you have crazy noise, something like this. Okay. If I leave it at 0, you won't see the noise. So I leave it at 156 for now, just small amount of noise, or 512. Make it more obvious 1K, and then I can just change the tiling, something like 0.5, then make this one bigger, or if I want. Okay, can really have different shapes. So I will leave this back to 0 because the next thing I want to show you is the inner smooth. So I can put like 1000, and this will smooth out this part. There you go, outer smooth. Inner smooth is for this part, like that. And 1000 may be a little bit too much, so 512 or 256. Actually, 1000 was. So the next thing I want to show you is the terrace. So I will put something like 1.4, and then I will play with the mask, like 108. Then the spacing, we will make it smaller, 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 something like this. We can change the smoothness if we want. We can make it really harsh or really smooth, something like this. And of course, you can change different properties, change the terrace alpha, and of course, the mask offset will determine when your mask starts. You have something like this. And the beauty of this is that you can go to your landmass and you can just move it around. You can rotate it, and it's a non-destructive process. You can move it up, and you can even duplicate it by holding Alt. Sorry, let's go back to the landscape, and then hold Alt, and now you will be able to see results. You can scale it up if you want. That's something that you're looking for. You can scale, rotate, and you can even change some of the properties, such as the cap angle. For example, this one can be like this, and another one can be like a mountain. Or this one, instead of having the terracing alpha, let's go back to the defaults. You can have like a very big mountain here. Scale this up like this, and you will see that it gives me a lot of options. So the next thing we're going to do is to check how we can apply this to our terrain. To show you what is the best way to create terrains, should you use Gaea or War Machine, or should you use everything in Unreal? So the first thing we need to do is to create a new map, because we didn't enable the layers in our previous map. So we're going to import it again. Very easy. We're just going to Landmass, import from file. And here I already have the landscape I import from Gaea, just like we did before. And I have 16 by 16. I have 300 is my scale. And I'm going to leave it like that. So I'm just going to hit import like that. Okay, and now we have our landscape like we did before, but this time we have layers. So I will create a new layer called Landmass. Okay, so here I will go to my blueprint, select the landmass, and click here. Now you will see that I'm having an inverse behavior, and the reason is this landscape is very different. It's not planar, it has different angles and a lot of things, so the blending mode is a little bit strange. So this is where my blending mode comes into play. If I go here to my alpha blend mode, I can just click on max, and then I can just move this one, try to move it up or down, play with the values a little bit, play with the C offset, cap shape, go to the minimum, this is what it does. You can either invert the shape if you want and it up, or move it down. Try to play with it a little bit. Okay. Max. Then down. There you go. Move it up. Just enough so you can see it. Okay. This is one of the issues you may have if you have your own landscape. So you can cap the shape if you want. You can see that mine is very tall, so I can offset, put something like 2000. Okay. And I can move the splines a little bit. For example, I can do something like this. I can move the spline here. Okay, let's go back. Find our landmass. Here we can move the spline. Right click at a spline point here. Basically have any shape you want. So you notice that these two can be combined. So if I play with this, for example, I can go to my curl noise. I can make it blur a little bit and play with a noise like 0.5 and then 0.4, 6. And then I can just play with the size of my landscape, for example, something like this. And I can make it bigger if I want to have a small mountain. Okay. And then I can go here and put something like 0.2, 0.4, or 0.3. Okay. 0.7, 12. That's a lot. Okay, let's just leave it at 0.6. And then the displacement height, I can put like 2048. And notice that because we're in max mode, I will not affect other areas. If I put minimum, I will make something like this, which is something really nice actually. If you want to create something like that, you can have it. Of course, you can have the alpha blend, but it will give you very strange results because this landscape have different heights. This is why I prefer max mode. Okay, so once you have this, you can do the outer smooth, something like 1000, and you can have something like this. Okay, and now that you have this, you can just move this one. You can just put it anywhere you want actually, and it will blend really nicely with your landscape like that. Of course, if you put the alpha blend, it will have like blending this part with this part, but then you will need to play with the outer smooth. For example, here, let's go back to here, outer smooth, something like 4000. And this is how your landscape will blend much better with the current state of your height map. Like if your height map like this, then if you put 0, sorry, not here, 0 here, you will see that I have no blending. So if I go here and put something like 2000, or yeah, something like that, or even 1500, 3000, you will see that my landscape blends really nicely with my terrain. So I can just move it here. And of course, I will have some artifacts here because this one is going up and this one is down. So what I can do is just move this one up a little bit. But with this mode, I will have much more control. So this is the way you can add modifications to your existing landscape. Because when you create this landscape from Gaea or War Machine or any other software, then you're not limited to what you created that software. You don't need to go there again. You can just go to Unreal and change the look of your landscape. And the landmass is not the only tool you can have. You can actually create a new one. This manual tweaks. Okay. And here you can just sculpt. For example, you can sculpt here, something like this, or you can smooth this out if you want. Or you can make a ramp and change the width of the ramp, something 1000, and click OK. And then you will have like a ramp for your game, for example. And then you can smooth this area. And you can modify the landscape in any way you want. And if you don't really like the results, you can just remove the alpha, like 0.5 to reduce the intensity, or 0, it will reduce everything. Or you can just toggle the layer visibility, and you can either delete if you want, and you can just keep everything like you had before. So this is the best way to work with landscapes. It's the way I find you have more control over the look of your landscape, and also some procedural generation that you can use so that you have more control over the paths. For example, like you want to put a castle here, you really need a mountain and you really didn't have it before, you can just put this one. And we will continue to work on materials now. All right, guys, so the first idea was to show you how to do with tiles in Unreal Engine 5, but unfortunately, they really do not support a lot of features now. The landscape is pretty broken. So if you try to paint the landscape and add materials here, you won't be able to do it with the world partition. However, there is a solution, and I won't be able to make a super big world as I planned because, like I said, Unreal Engine 5 is not really ready for that. And in Unreal Engine 4, world composition is appreciated in the future, so there is no point on teaching. So for now, we will keep it simple, a really nice landscape. So remember we export the tile output here with enable tiles? Well, now if you want to import one landscape, you need to disable this, okay? And the next thing you will see is that the resample is available here. So what you need to do is to go here, and my resolution is 2K, that means 2 kilometers, that's what I want, and I will choose 2017 as my resolution. If this one was 1K, I will choose 1009, and apparently I cannot have lower resolution. If it was 500 something, I will choose 505, and so on. But for now, we are going to stick with 2017 with a raw format, and I will just start build. I already have the cache data for my files, so I will just build that, and it's just safe. I will copy this, and I will come here to my landscape. Okay, landscape here. Okay, so let's create a new map, mastering landscapes, and then my map, open world 1 partition. Let's call it no partition, no tiles. Better. Open world, no tiles. Okay, so we will go here for landscape, and as you can see, I don't have the option for world partition, and the reason is I went to my project settings and I went to world partition and I disabled this. Okay, for now we're not gonna use it. It really, landscapes are not working really well in Unreal Engine 5. I tried a lot of things, so for now we will the tutorial on world partition later when it's more stable, show more stuff you can. But for now, let's come back here, and I will import from file, and I come here, paste this, and I will just put my landscape height here. And as you can see, it already shows the height map resolution 2K, and here 16 by 16 and 2K. This number must be the same as this one, remember, otherwise you will have problems. The landscape won't match. So let's click import, and with that we will have our landscape. Okay, beautiful. So now that we have this, our landscape is only in one, and if we play from here, see that everything will be loaded unlike before. All right. Pretty fun, actually. So now what we're gonna do is to do some materials, and we will do some basic materials, and then we will go deeper and show you how you can decorate your landscape. The idea is to make this modular, and so that you can have the setup and plug in your landscapes, have your automatic material, and make them look pretty. Okay, so let's go to the fundamentals of painting in landscapes. Painting in landscapes can be a little bit different, so let's take it step by step. So the first thing is that I add some content from Quixel. I already add these materials. If you want to add them, feel free to use them. I add this rocky soil ground, the Icelandic reef, just sand, beach, rocks. This one I'm not sure if I add or not, but in any case, if you want to add it, I'm downloading the medium quality. I don't need a super high resolution one. I'm just clicking add, and this will take automatically my material here. So what I need to do first is to create a material. So let's go to our folder. Let's go to new folder and call materials. And here I will right click and create a new material and call it M landscape. And by the way, if you're new to materials, make sure you check our video on how to start learning materials for beginners. We will learn from the very scratch. Okay, so here in my landscape, you will see that it's a little bit different. And let me explain a little bit. So first thing is that we have painting modes. So if I go to my landscape and go to my painting, you will see that I have layers. The layers work like Photoshop. So if I drag this, you will have the base layer here, like that. This will be the layer 1, for example. And on top, you will have the layer 2 and the layer 3. So you will paint on top of these layers. Now, in order to create these layers in the landscape, we need to do something special in the material. So in order to do that, what I'm gonna do is to create a lerp. Okay, holding L, with this will create a lerp. Sorry, not a lerp. Let's just create the colors first. So by holding 3, you will be able to create the nodes, or holding V, you will create a parameter. So just call this one V. Just call it V. All right, just put 3. So let's put this color here, and then Control W to duplicate, and then just put it green. Okay. And the next thing we need to do to appear in these layers is to have a type landscape, and then you will put layer blend. Okay. And automatically it will have an array here of 0 elements you can add. This will be my layer 1, and it will be this one. And then I will have my layer 2, like this, and it will be this one. And I will connect this to the base color and apply. Okay, so what we need to do now is to apply the landscape material here. So I'm gonna go here to M landscape and put this one. Okay, so now that we have this, what do we need to do to fill? Okay, we need to create an asset that has the information. So let's click weight layer info, and automatically it will create a folder inside my map folder with the name of my level. So my L1 will have a layer info here. Click on it, you will see that here I have my layer info. It's just an asset, doesn't have any value here, so just keep that in mind. You can do the same here. As you can see, my landscape is already turning red. Okay, so what can I do now? Well, I can paint. For example, I can paint here. And you will see that it's blending between the green and the red. And I can smooth it out if I want. Make it even more blending. Do this kind of stuff. But the idea is that you can paint like this. Now, we don't want to use these colors. We want to use textures. So let's put the first texture. So what I'm gonna do is to go to my content browser, control space, and let's just try to find something nice. Okay, maybe sand. Okay, maybe sand. Okay, so what we're gonna do is to drag this tree, and we're gonna put it here. Okay, and you notice that I have 3 textures, and that's only one layer. So if I comment this, I will put like L1 like that. This will be my layer 1. And the next thing I need to do is to change these textures to sampler to shared wrap, so that I can use basically more textures. As you can see, I have a limit here, and I have like 6 layers multiplied by 3. I will have like 18, and that's a lot of textures. But the problem is that if I put this one here, you will see that I have my texture. I will hit apply. Okay, and my texture is here. It's just that it's very small. So what I need to do is to duplicate this. And for the roughness, I need to do the same. Like, I believe the roughness is the green one, so I need to do this. And layer 2, let's just something like this for now. Okay, and then we need to do the normal map. So what we need to do is to Control W, and we need to put the normal here, and then another normal here. So that's going to be a little bit messy, and we don't really want that. So what I'm gonna do is to delete this, okay? And what I'm going to create is a material. So I'm going to right click and check make material attributes. What this will do is to create a material inside a material. Basically just the attributes, it will be stored here. So I can just put the base color here, and I can put the normal here, and I can put the next ones, such as my roughness, my ambient occlusion, and if I want, I can put the world displacement to store it here, but I don't really need it. If you check the maps, you will see here individual channels here red, this will be my ambient occlusion, green, this will be my roughness, and blue, this will be my height. So just by doing that, I can just connect this. Okay, and what I'm gonna do now is to put another one. So I'm just going to Control W, okay, just like this, and I'm going to change the textures. And this time we're going to use something like a rock. So let's go to this one, or Icelandic cliff, or maybe this one. So just by doing this, we will change, clicking the arrow here, and then go back here, control space, click the normal map, and then click the arrow, then go back here, click the mask, and change it. And just by doing that, I will connect this to my layer 2. Okay, let's delete this, we don't need it right now. And now we have a material that is plugged in into the base color, and I don't really want that. So what I can do is to break material attributes. I have two options. I can either do this and I can put the base color here, the roughness, the normal, and the AO. Okay, so I can do that. Or I can just go here to my material properties just by clicking in any part of the graph and just click use material attributes. And instead of doing this, I can just drag this and it will work. Both will work. So for now, I will just use the material attributes. So let's click apply. And now we will check if our material works. Okay, great. So my material works, but the tiling is a little bit funny. So what I'm going to do is to create an instance. So I'm going to make a tile for all my layers. So I'm going to press U to create a texture coordinate, or you can just type texture coordinate here. Then M, then I will multiply. You can also press M and drag this. Then press 1. And then just check this. Now, for me, I want all my tiles to have the same textile density. That's what I want. I will just put them all into the same slot. So I will connect this one just like this. Okay. And what I can do is to right click this and convert parameter, and this will be my tiling. Okay. And just by doing that, I can just put maybe 0.1 by default. Let's see how it looks like. And now it looks a little bit better, but I don't have control over the tiling. If I want to change the tiling, I need to change it here, something like 0.05, and apply. And this looks a little bit more better, but no, I don't have much control. So what I can do is to Control B to check the asset where it's located, and I can right click and create a material instance. And this will be my MI landscape sand. Something like that. Okay, let's save it. And what I can do is to go to my landscape and change the material to my landscape sand, just like that. And looks like nothing has changed. But now, when I open this sand material, I can either open it here or go to my content browser and open it. You will see that I have my tiling here. So what I can do is to change the tiling. For example, 0.1, 0.05, 0.02. And I can just do that until I find something that I want. Let's put 0.08, maybe. Looks like a nice number. Okay. So now that what I can do is to go here and just paint. For example, I can paint in this area. I will just paint here. And I will have my landscape. Here I can paint the rocks. And I can just increase the brush size and the strength. I can just paint here. And I can continue to do that. And you notice that when I paint, we have a really smooth transition between the two. And that's not really natural. Although it's a very cheap way to do it if you're doing a mobile game or something and you want to save some memory, this kind of transition is very cheap. But what I want to do is to make the transition a little bit nicer. So we're going to work on that next. So to get the blending a little bit better, what we're going to do is to do a height blend. So we're going to our landscape, and you will see that in this texture here, I have a height map. So how this works is that the black areas here are the lowest parts of my texture, and the white ones are the highest parts. So in between the two, when I start blending my texture, I will start blending starting from here, and I will go up and up until I start blending in this area. So I will start from the bottom to the top. And this is naturally what it will happen. The highest areas tend to be less influence. So we're going to do that. And we're going to do that using this texture. So the way we're going to do it is that we're using the word displacement here, the blue channel. And here in my layer blend, I will leave the first one to LB, just like that. And the next one will be my height blend. So my height blend will use the layer 2. Okay. And what I can do is to drag this here. Just like that. Okay. Now it's becoming a little bit messy, but we're going to arrange things a little better. And also let's rename this to L2. Like that. Apply. Okay, and looks like nothing has happened. And the reason is we haven't applied contrast. Okay, so what does contrast do is let's apply a cheap contrast. And let's put this one here. And then right click, start previewing node. And to make this one a little bit better, we'll just put the tiling to 1. And you will see that I have my height map here. Exactly what I have here. Okay. So what I can do is to go here, press 1, and plug this in. Okay. And what I can do is to increase the contrast by 1. You'll see that I have my original mask here now. 2, 3, 4. Something like that. You will see that my contrast is a lot more higher. So what I can do is to right click, convert to parameter, and I will put a height blend contrast. Okay, and then I will just go here and I will put it here. Now hit apply, save, and now we're going to our local instance and let's see how it looks like. My contrast is 0. I can put 1 and it looks like this. I can put 0 softer. I can put 5, something like 50, and it's super contrasty. I want put something like 10. 50 looks like a nice number for us to use. So with this, you can already have a lot more control. Okay, so now our areas look a little bit better. Like you notice that here, the black sand that we have here, it's in the bottom. So now where we're blending with the sand, now it starts from here and it will start blending really nicely. And this will work great when we have more textures. So what I want to do now is to just, put more textures and see if they work together well or not. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to just add more textures. It will be very easy. I can just select all this and duplicate like that. And I can add more. Let's go back to our content browser. Go here. So let's add this cliff here. So let's rename this L3. We don't want to get confused. And here we're going to add this one. And then we're going to add this one. And then we're going to mask here. And then we're going to duplicate this. Okay. We're going to put L4 here. And now we're going here. And we're using this coral beach. So put this one here. Here. This one here. Do another one. How many you think? Well, with landscape, it's better to have more blend so that you have more variation. A lot of the blending problems are resolved just by adding more textures in your landscape. Okay, that, then this one. Let's continue. Layer 6. Okay, then here in my shoreline, this one here, then my normal map, then this one. See if I have more. Maybe this one. Okay, so let's put another one here. My L7. And now we're going to put this one here. It's always nice to check how everything works in context. So we're going to put this one here. And now we need to put the height contrast. So I'm going to create a material parameter collection, okay? So that we have more control over it, but I'm gonna do that later, okay? So here, let's add another one. Will be my L3. As always, it will be my height blend. And I can just connect this one here. And I can just duplicate this one. And the contrast can be the same one. And then here I can use this one, my blue one. Okay. And then I can just put it here. I can do the same for L4. Again, this kind of process is very manual, but once you have the master material, you can reuse it in all your projects. And of course, I will share with you master material of this. Don't worry. So L4 will be here. So this one, we will put it just here. And then we will Control W. And we will put the contrast here, this one, and then just move this one here and put the displacement here. And the result goes into my height. Then do the same here. L5. Now you notice why I don't name this landscape like sand, rock, etc. And the reason is with time, you may change the landscape to something different. For example, you may want to add snow. So if you put the rock and sand there, then it's very hard to change these names later. And then you will be confused. Like, why is my sand painting snow? Why is my grass painting rock? So it's very used to name them by number. here, Control W, and the contrast be my cheap contrast, and this is my L5. Make sure we are on L5, and then go here, and then move this one up. And of course, you can choose one, make it a little bit easy. Now, 2 more to go. One more here. L6, height blend, like that. Then my height, my cheap contrast. Here on my contrast, I will this one. And here, I will this one here. Okay. I find that the less parameters I have in my landscape and I can control it globally, it's much easier to work with. So keep that in mind. So the next one will be my L7. Okay, and my L7 will also have a height blend. I will connect this one here, and then I will W my cheap contrast. I will plug this in. Just like that, I will do one here, and just the result here. Hey, we're almost done. What we need to do is to connect the tiling. So just tiling here. Okay. Then here. That. Then here. And what we can do is to here faster, and we can move it back later. Now it's a little bit messy, but we will organize it a bit and even create functions if we want. In this case, we're fine. Okay. It's a little bit messy, but it works. So here, previewing, and this one we can put here if we want. Okay, now we have a lot of layers. So the next thing we need to do is to try it out. So we will go to my landscape here, and if you don't see the layers updated, the reason is we need to open the level again. So let's open an empty level and then go File, Levels, and open our map. And now when we go to landscapes, we our layer info. So we just need to create one for L3, the same one for L4, do the same one for L5, same one for L6, do the same one for L7. Right? Okay, so now that you have your layer info, let's try and paint something. Close this, and let's go here. Let's just brush size a little smaller. So the layer 1 is this one. Layer 2, you will have this material here. Okay, and if you paint layer 1 here, you will see blending really nicely. You can even reduce the strength here. Have a little bit of sand. That's great. This will create almost an entirely new material. So now we paint this. Okay, so this one is the cliff. One looks bigger. So let's see strength here. Okay. Then we can paint with sand here. One. Okay, like this. The cliff looks like I will take a look at it. Maybe I will change it. So let's keep going. The next one is this one. This is the sand. Sand, beautiful. Let's see how they work together here. Okay, it looks very nice. All these three are working really nice. So let's continue. L5. L5. Oh, this one is another one. So yeah, we will use it. Okay, great. And let's see how it blends with another one. If we paint really small, have my sand here. Will work nicely. Okay, right. Same here. Okay, go to layer 6. And you put more of this. Great how all these materials can work together like that. So let's go to 7, our last sand. Okay, so here. Hey, this is great. So the only one that I feel that I need to change is the cliff. I feel like it's not blending nicely. It could work potentially. Put it like this. But let's take a look at our textures here. I feel like, yeah, they could work together. Let's leave the cliff like that for now. So what we're going to do now is to create an automatic material. So what the automatic material will do is to automatically place these textures into their own say position based on the angle of the slope and based on other parameters that we can use so that we can have a base to work with. So with that, we're going to doing that. But first, it's important to know that our materials are working really well. Sand is working really nicely, and the rocks, everything. It's really nice to see that it works really nice like this. It's very important to do the palette. Okay, so let's start creating the first step of our material, automatic material. So let's go to our landscape here. Landscape, go to our landscape, and the automatic material will, it's just a fancy name to call it. It's just another layer, but it's not using the paint maps. Paint basically. So what you can do, what we actually need to do is to move all of those. So I will do it on my side actually, but let's create another one, and this will be my L8. Okay, put the height here. And what I can do is to move with control all of those. Okay, so let's control this one, control, 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 click, click. Okay, it wasn't that bad actually. Okay. Then here in layer 1, I will layer 2 here, and height, I will put my, I need to create a height for this one, so I will keep contrast here, this one here, and my height blend will be here. Then the result will be in my layer 2. So I need to rename all of those. I will do it very quickly. will L2, one will 3, L4. I should come up with a better name, actually. Not for these ones, actually only for the first one. Make it a little bit more organized. Okay, so there you go. So my layer 1 will be my automatic material. So how are we going to do that? Well, it's very simple. My automatic material will use a slope, and I will have more things for my automatic material, but for now, my automatic material will use slope. So what I will do is my blend material layer blend. Oh, let's just put 3 colors actually. Let's put 3 here, and let's just call this red, and this one will be green. Be very obvious, okay? So what I will do is put a lerp on those by holding L, and I will put this here and this one here, and my alpha will be a slope mask. Okay, so my slope mask, I will plug it in, and I will take a look how this looks. By default, is the value, so I will put the slope angle. I will put the values here. So let's start putting the parameters. But first, let's just take a look at how this looks. So this is the beginning of our automatic material. Brace yourself. Gonna be amazing. Put it here, and then oh, okay. So we need to create a material. Actually, we cannot use this to test. So we're going to create a material. So make material attributes, base color. Okay, put this one here, base color. Well, let's just put it here. Do not put the lerp. This will not work. Okay, here, and let's put a material blend, and we will look for material blend standard, and this will be my base material, and this will be my top material, and of course this will be my alpha. I will put it here on layer 1. Okay, so what will happen now is that we have something like this, and the only parts that I haven't really affected, these ones. So what I will do, if I want to apply my automatic material, I need to right click and fill layer. Okay, and actually I need to create my weight map for this. Okay, great. Okay, so let's just agree that my L1 is my automatic material, and the rest ones will be manual tweaks. Okay, so this is my automatic material. Now, what I can do, you can see that is working here. I have a different color for the slope that is pretty deep. So what we can do is to change parameters. So let's put all of those. We will put the slope angle by holding V. We can create a vector tree, vector parameter, just like this. Okay, and I will put it here, and I will put by default this will be blue 1. Okay, then I will check the fall of power like that. I will put it here, 1 for now. Then I will put Control W, and I will connect this to contrast like that. Okay, and just by doing that, I already have some parameters to play with. So you can see it's starting to work a little bit. So let's take a look at our material instance. Here, my chip contrast, I can change it to 2. And you will see that, let's take a look here, it will make it more contrasty, is what I want. The fall off, of course, I can make it like this. We can do something like this if I want it. And reduce the contrast. And the good thing about this is that, let me save this. If I go to my landscape and then I decide I want to sculpt something, and I didn't put layers, I'm sorry for that. So brush size like that, and I will sculpt like this, and I can do the flatten here. One, not just flatten target, this one. You will see that I have my landscape here, and I have, you know, another material on top. So let me see. Okay, so what we can do, actually, well, first off, play with these values until we have something we like. And of course, we can change the slope angle like this here, and it will change slope. Green one to the green channel. The one here. One, I don't know if that will work. So let's just put it 1. So this will be my first base of my landscape material. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is just to replace this with some materials we already have. So this will be very simple. We just need to choose which material we want. So for this one, the green one will be my top material. Okay, and the red one will be my rock material, like that. And we don't need this anymore. Okay, and let's click apply. Let's see how it looks like. And okay, we have something that is automatic, not exactly pretty, but you know, it's working. So what the next thing we need to do is to put the tangent normal here, and I can just put the normals of this one. So I can either drag like this, or I can be a little bit more polite, and it's like fake. Get material attributes here, and I can just put the normal. I can just put the normal here, and I can put it here, like that. If I want it, drag everything from, you know, from that material, so I don't need to change the normal, and it will get like spaghetti. Okay, great. So now that we have our normal, you see that we are actually having more control. If I right click and preview this node just like this did before, you will see that I have my normal here. If I unconnect this, you will see that I have a smooth fall off. But if I have the normal, I will have this type of blend. Exactly what I want. Okay. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is to go to Gaea and grab some maps that we can use in our automatic material. Okay. Okay. So now, in order to complete our automatic material, we need to create some masks that we can use when we create our terrain in Gaea. We can export some masks that we can use in our landscapes to texture it faster. Now, this will be a base for us. Like I showed before, you can paint in the landscape and do the details you want, but this will help to have a base. So Here in Gaea, I have a tab that is called Data. And the data will grab a bunch of masks that I can use in order to texture my landscape. So for example, I can grab the flow data and I can just put it here. Okay. Now, you notice that my landscape became flat, and the reason is I'm previewing this that is a 2D mask. So what I need to do is to come here and then right click and then ping as underlay, or you can also press the G button. So now when I go to my flow, you will see that I can see on 3D how my mask looks like. Now you can change a bunch of properties here. For me, this looks pretty fine actually. You can add more details like this, for example. But to me, I find that this one looks very good. Let's try it with this two. Otherwise, we will just leave it with the version one. Okay, let's just leave it like this. Usually, the flow is where the water will come down, falls. So this one looks like a nice map to have. So you have a bunch of options here, and personally, I have some of my favorites. I will show you. This one is the angle one. So the angle will just drop like just grab any particular angle. So for example, I can put like 45 degrees here. And I can change the minimum here, like maybe 15. And the maximum to maybe 24, 22, something like that. To have more contrast, something like that. Okay. And the fall off I can leave like that. Okay. This can serve as a nice texture base if I wanted to have one. So another one I have is my height. So the height one, I can either type height here or can from here. Go height, and you will grab this. It will grab a mask that is based on the height of our mesh. So in order to see this better, I can just put like minimum 10. Okay, this is okay, 43, and just remove the fall off like 1. So this will give me like a mask that I can use. So you can see here that I have my height. And if I want lower values, I can just grab the height again. And instead, I will put the minimum to 0 and the maximum to 10. And then I will connect this. So this way I can cover my entire landscape. So what I can do here, if I check my two masks, one ends up here and the other one ends up really far. So what I can do is either change the fall off to something like 2, something like that maybe. Okay, so the next thing I can do is maybe combine. For example, I want to combine this angle with this height here. So what I can do is tap and type combine. And once I combine, I can just grab the angle and then grab the height. And I can just change the blending mode, maybe to multiply. And I can just put the ratio to 100. So I can take a look at how it will look like. So this is how my texture will look like if I just put it like that. Okay. I can do the same here. So I can just combine. I can do another mask for my bottom part. So let's put the angle here and let's put our height. Will be that one. Now I can just put multiply and then 100 here. And now what I have is this mask. Then I have this mask and I have this mask. Okay, perfect. Now what I want to do is combine them. So I will type here the RGB mix. Okay, so the RGB mix will create a RGB texture, red, green, and blue, and I will plug them into the right, the right channels. So let's say for this one, we already have our automatic slope mask. So we're gonna texture this. We're gonna use this to texture different materials we can put in the ground. This can be very helpful. So let's put this one here in the red channel. And then I will put my height in the blue channel. And then I will put my my height in the green, and then my flow in the blue. And you will see that I have something like this. Okay, so now you think, what do I do with the black ones? So the black ones is the automatic material we just created in Unreal. So if we want to export this, we can just go to build, and here I can just right click and mark for export, and I can export this, for example, as a PNG 8. Okay, and this is the resample, and I can start the build. I already have it cached, so I will just click yes. And with that, I will have my texture here. Wait a little bit. Okay, so now we have our texture here and our height map. And now that we have Gaea here, we can create like a master Gaea file that we can use. So if we want to create another terrain, we can use the automatic material here. Great. Now we just need to go to Unreal. So now that we have our mask, we just need to import the texture, like new folder, textures. I will put this one, import, and let's paste here, and you will see that I have my PNG file. Okay, and now that we have this, we need to put that this is a mask. So we have all the values from 0 to 1, and you will see that I have my red channel, the green one, and the blue one, and it's working great. Okay, so now that we have our texture here, we just need to go to our landscape, and let's drag this texture. Let's rename this, for example, underscore terrain 01 mask. Okay, so we just drag this, and in order to see this better, we need to plug it in. So first we need some coordinates. So we will go to landscape, and this time we're going to use landscape layer chords. So what this will help me is to basically have a 1-to-1 ratio with my landscape size and put it in the UVs. So I will put the scale to 2017, which is exactly the size of my texture, 2017 here. Okay, and now that I do that, I just click here, and let's preview this to check how this works. So we're going to make material attributes, so we can take a look at how it will look like. Put the base color here, and then put this into the layer 1. Click apply, and there you go. Now you have a mask here that is using all your landscape. Now that's great. So let's try to make something out of this. So let's remove this, and the first thing I need to do is to grab my channels individually. Now let me explain this a little bit better. Our slope mask will be our base layer. This will be our slope. And then we will have the red one here on top and then the green one, and then the blue one, and you will have like 3 masks that we can use. But the base one will be the slope, which means that the black areas of my landscape will be filled with this one automatically, which is great. And I don't need to use another texture because the slope is calculated automatically in my landscape. So now that we have this, we can just come here and do a material layer blend. And I will just put material layer blend standard. So the base material will be this one, and the top material can be anyone. For example, I can put maybe this one. Okay, so let's take a look at our red channel. We will put it here, and then we will put the top will be my layer. Let's just say it's layer 5. Okay, so let's connect this, and we will put it here. This will be our layer 5. Okay, now let's take a look at how it looks like. We can try it out. Click here, apply, and now you will see I have this texture that is happening here. Now, this looks a little bit blurred, so what we can do is use the contrast node. So let's use the ship contrast, and we can put it here. Okay, and then we will create with one a scalar parameter. Right click, convert to parameter, and we will call this mask, right? And then we will call contrast. We will put 1 by default. We will put it here. A result. Put this one here. Okay. Click apply. And then we will go our material instance here. And we just need to change power. Basically the contrast. So we can just put, we go here, we'll see a little bit much. 2, 1, 0.1. Put something like this. Okay. And put 12 if you want. You want to make it really sharp. Or you can just leave it at 3 if you want, up to you actually. So now that you have this, let's just leave it at 1 for now. And what we will do is to do another layer. And this one will work for our mountains. So let's go move this one here a little bit. And let's Control W this one. My base layer will be this one. And my cliff will be, for example, L4. So we will grab the L4 here. Okay. And be in the top material. And then I'm gonna grab the chip contrast again. Okay, and I put the green one. And then I will put the green contrast here. I will put it on alpha. And then I will put it on layer 1. Like that. Okay. And now you see that I have my mountain and it's having 2 textures here that we can use. Great. We will take care of the tiling later, but for now this seems to work. Okay, so for now we will do another one. Control C, Control V. This will be my base material, and my top material, let's say, it could be this one. For now, it really doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is how it looks at the end. So just put the top material here. And the alpha, we're gonna do the same, Control C, Control V. And this one will be my mask blue contrast. I will put it here. Then I will put it in the alpha. And with this, we finish our automatic material almost. Now we have something like this. Great. Now we can refine this and we can paint more stuff if we want. On my side, I'm gonna play with it until I have a nicer look, and then we will take a look at how we can solve the tiling. But for now, if we play from here, you will see that it is really nice to have like this base for now. And of course, you can change the materials. For example, you don't like this one going on here. It's very simple. We can just go to L8 and swap it. And just go here, L8, click apply. And now you will have another material here that you're using for this one. And now, of course, you can change the mask here, for example. Sorry, not this one. Let's use the material instance like this. You can change the blue one for some like 2 or 0.1. Make it, this is not really natural actually, but like 1, just something like that. And then you can do the same here for this one. You can change the contrast to 1 here. Okay, so the idea is that we have different materials here. I find that this one is working okay, although this sand doesn't look really realistic. So what I'm going to take a look at my site is typing this textures until I find something I like. So now that we have our flow map here, you can see that the guard very natural. And the reason is this mask is Gaia's mask. And what I want to do is mix them with my height map. So it will be very simple. I'm going to my landscape, my automatic material. And what I will do here is this mask, I will multiply it and I will grab the alpha. And the alpha that I will grab is one here. For example, this L6, I will grab the contrast, drag it until I take the multiply, that, and just in case I will lamp. Okay, I will put okay. Now let's take a look at what happens. So when I click apply, see that now my landscape is tiles and is mixing between much more natural. So what I want to do is the same for the rest ones. So I will back to this. I will multiply, click here, remember to put lamp so that my maximum value is always 1. And the top material here be L4. So let's grab L4, grab the contrast, and just all right. So now that we have this alpha, and then we're gonna do the same here, multiply, grab the contrast from the red channel, check the top material by hovering the mouse, you will align highlights. So find that is L5, grab the contrast, and we put the multiply, and then we lamp here, and we're here, and then apply, and like that. Now our landscape looks much more realistic. Now, there is one issue though, and that is it really not with the tiling. We had this issue for putting the mask, therefore we still have the issue. So, but at this point you have something to work on. For example, you want to paint a little bit of this layer. Let's say, I don't know, layer and paint here, and let's wait for the shaders to compile. file. But this base is supposed to give you a starting point. Here, you can paint this one, like, and you will have your height map. Nice. You can have the tree. Follow off, and you can just everything into place, just like this. Maybe grab this one, 5. Paint here the sand. And if click, and everything will be much better. So at this point, what I want to deal with is the tiling, that I can see the tiles from distance. For one thing, I feel my textures, I will them. So maybe I will change the tiling, but the problem is from distance I can see things. So what we're gonna do is change the tiling based. Now that we have our mask working, we need to change the tiling based on, and it's gonna be very simple. So what we're gonna do, go back to our landscape, and if you don't find it like me, you can just go to the landscape material, click browse, and there you will find your landscape. Okay, so what we need to do the blending, we're gonna use, let's arrange this first. Let's grab this and let's comment this automatic material. Okay, so what we need to do is to grab a node that is very, for us, it's called camera depth fade. Okay, so what this does, and I'm gonna start previewing here, as I get far, it gets white, and as I get close, it's dark. Okay, so the fade length will determine at which distance I change this offset. So in order to do this, I can create a fade length attribute, like Alt-1, click, and then right-click, convert to parameter, fade length. And let's just put it 1 for now. Happens. And like 100, maybe 1000. Okay, so this one looks better. Okay, so now that we have this, we have our mask. Let's create something and debug. So let's hold 3 times and let's red and then green. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is to derp between the two. So here in the camera depth fade, go to the result and plug it into alpha, and then go into the track this one, go to A, this, and then we're going to create a new node, or we'll make material attribute here, and we're going to connect the base color here, and we're just going to plug this to the layer 1. For now, remember that we're going to our automatic material, test this out. So let's click apply, see what happens. Okay, so as you can see, I already have some paintings, and here in my landscape, I can just paint, and then here in the layer info, I can just right click and fill layer. And what this is that everything will use my automatic material. So if I go far, I cannot see any difference. So what I will do, my material instance, and let's try to play with the values. For example, you can play something like 10,000, maybe. Let's go here, and here you can see that I have a red one is the close one. The one that goes on top is the one that is close, and the one that is far, green, and it has a gradient. So what I can do is something like 10,000, 5,000, like something like 25,000 work, maybe. And as I continue, you can see I have a gradient, all this. Okay, so I will leave it at 25,000 for now. So now that we know that this works, we need flagging our textures. So in order to try this out, what we need to do is grab this, well, only this, what we need. Actually, let's just grab this too. We don't need this anymore. We already know back here. Okay, and this is my depth fade. And you see here that I have my tiling here. So I can use the same. I can use a lerp and I can plug in my alpha. But this time, what I'm gonna do is to lerp between different coordinates. The one that is close is going to be A. I'm going to put this one here, okay? And by holding Control, I'm going to drag like this, and I'm going to here. So A will be my close tiling. So I will call this close tiling. And then for V is going to be my far tiling. So I'm going to duplicate this one and put it here. Okay. And actually, what I need to do is create another set. Okay. Because if I do this, it won't work. Because of the way it works, we're changing the tiling based on the camera depth, and it works very well. So let me show you what I mean. If I just go here to my landscape, that I have my close tiling, and here I have my far tiling. Okay, I just like that. Change those based on the distance, and my far tiling 1, far tiling 0.1 here, and the close tilings like 5, 1. And you see that both of them are basically doing the same. They are not really changing anything. So in order to fix this, what we need to do is to basically duplicate these textures and have another one. I'm going to make this bigger, and I'm going to work on this one first, okay? So first is sand L2, and this is gonna be my test. So what I'm gonna do is to lerp these two textures actually. So if I check this texture, first this one will my close tiling. I will like that, okay? But this one will use my far tiling. I will just, okay? So now that I have my far tiling here, I don't need the lerp anymore. And what I can do is to actually, okay? And then I will, let's duplicate all of those and put it, or we can Control W, something like that. And we can put the far tiling here. And we can do the same here, W, and put the far tiling here, like that. And now that we have this, what we need is to a lerp. Let's put the lerp, and the lerp be my close tiling, and I'm going to comment this here, just close texture, my car texture. Okay, and now that I have this, I can go B, and here in my camera fade, I can just drag this, my alpha, and I can do the same here, and I can plug this in. I can do the same here, drag this too, and then I can just drag this one and put it in my alpha. So just like that, we already have the alpha for this that is used our camera distance, and this one is used a different value, but in our material. So what we go here, and let's exchange this. Okay, and here in the normal map, we will need to do something extra. So here, what we need to do is to do a RGB split, the component mask. So there are several ways to do. You can either use a component mask, and here, the red one, go here to ambient occlusion, and you can put Control W, then you can put the green one here, and this will go to the roughness, and then you can Control W, and here you can put blue one. So like that, you can split all of those into different channels. If I click on this one will have my height. If I check one, this one we have my roughness, and if I check this one, I have my AO. Okay, so on and okay. So now that we have this, what we need to do, try it out. Go back. Okay, and here, in order to try it out, I will fill this. Right click and fill the layer 2 for all my landscape. And what this will do is to put my landscape entirely using the layer 2 mask. So here I can check the close tiling. I can put 0.5, 0.1, 0.01. I can see that the lower the value, the bigger it is. So I will 0.1. Also, okay. And then from distance, we can put something like 1, 5, sorry, 0.01. You can see that from distance, this one looks much bigger. I can put 5 or 0.5. And as you can see from distance, you can see the texture actually very big. And as I get closer, I get the close tiling like this. And this one is a little uh, for me, so I will just apply this like 0.0. Play with the values like that. And here, when you are in this part, then tiling small, and from distance use values. Okay, so now that we have this, I'm going to do the same for the rest of them. Okay, I completed my landscape blending here. So you can see the layers. I just duplicate and did the same process for all of them. Basically, the texture is connected, the close and the far tiling, like this. And then you're going to do that for the normal. And then for the mask, I did something different. Although the result is the same, this one breakout flow tree components will be a little bit easier to work with. You just need to work with one node. So just by doing this, after the lerp, you can break out the float, and then you can specify which component you want to drag out of it. In my case, I just drag the blue one for the work displacement, and then the ambient occlusion, and then the roughness, and I make sure I put the chip contrast, and I did the same for all the layers. So now that we have this, what we want to do is to add some virtual Heightfield mesh. So this one will help us here when we play the game. You see that my texture is really flat, and I don't really want that. So in Unreal Engine 4, we had the world displacement, which we can multiply by the vertex, and it will push the height information of the texture so that this one goes high based on the texture that we have. And this will give us more realistic details. So we're going to do that. So before we do that, we need to enable some stuff. What we need to do is to go to our plugins and type Virtual Heightfield Mesh. Okay, and make sure this is enabled. Be aware that this is an experimental feature. And once you enable, you need to restart. I'm not gonna do that now because I already did. And then go to Edit, then Project Settings, and then type Virtual Texture. And here in Virtual Texture Support, you need to enable this. And you need to restart the editor, and it will take a while to load all the shaders. But once you do that, you're fine. So this is the very basic setup we need to start working with virtual texture. Okay, so now that we have our plugins enabled, we need to do some stuff. So first we need to modify our landscape so that it can output some virtual texture outputs. So if we go to our landscape here, this is my final output. What I can type is runtime virtual, and you will see a bunch of options. Here you will find a virtual texture output. If you click on this, you will see that I have a bunch of inputs I can put. However, because I'm plugging in the material, I cannot really split those. So what I need to do is to break material attributes here, like that. And for the virtual texture output, I will just drag all of those, my base color, my roughness, and my normal. And for my world height, I'm just going to do something a little bit different. Remember that I have my world placement here that I'm connecting in all these ones here. Now we're going to use this to grab the world displacement, but we're not gonna put it here. What we need to do is to grab the absolute world position, just like that, so we have the world position of our mesh, and then we can use a component mask to drag the z-axis. And if we take a look at what this looks like, you will see that I'm grabbing a mask, okay, only based on the z height. Okay, so now that I have that, what I need to do is just multiply, so hit M to grab the wall displacement, and then grab these two, and here I will put a scalar parameter, and I will call it my displace virtual height displacement, something like that. Or I can just call it displacement in just like that. I will just put it here. And now what I need to do is to add these two. So I will have the world position. So it will be something like this. I have my map. This, let's just say this is our landscape. And on top of this, the red part, and then the green one will be my world displacement, which will be here, will be something like this. If we do not do this, otherwise our displacement will be here and it will be below our landscape. So make sure you put these two together. And then what we need to do is to add them by pressing A. So we can have the two positions, and then we can just put in the world height. And just like that, we have created our runtime virtual texture. Now that I have this, I can just create my visual texture in my content browser. So I will just go to map here, control space, and here in my materials, I will right click, then go to materials and textures, and then create a runtime virtual texture. So this one will be called RVT landscape height, just like that. Let's save this. And when you open it, you will see a bunch of properties. So here you don't really need to change anything except for this part. So we're going to put here the world height. Just keep in mind that if you don't see the details panel and it's like this, and it's a common issue some people have in Unreal 5, make sure you go to window and click on details so you can see all the details. So now that this virtual texture will have the world height, now what we need to do is to create a volume that we can grab the information from this landscape and then put the information so that we can use it in our virtual height mesh. So the way this works is that we will grab a volume like this that has all the height information from here, okay? And basically it will be a texture where white is my highest values and red is my lowest one. And with this volume, we can have accurate information about all the details that are in my landscape. So what I can do is to grab this texture here that I grabbed from the volume and put it in another mesh that is my high virtual texture, and I can displace those based on these values, just like we did the displacement before. So the way we're going to do that is just first, let's create a volume here and let's put a runtime virtual texture volume like this, okay? And then what we need to do is to check the virtual texture. We're going to put the RVT landscape height. You will see a bunch of others here. And if you just try to click here and then click on the arrow, it won't work. So make sure you click the right one and just click on this one. And this one will recall this like runtime virtual texture height, something like that. And then what we need to do is to align the bounds of the actor. By default, it's very small, so we won't get any data. So what we need to do is just to pick the actor here just by using this button here and then click on the landscape. And then we can just click on set bounds and you will see that my landscape is using all the data here. And it's perfectly accurate. Now, there are some places here where the bounds are exactly in one place. So what we need to do, just in case, is to lower this one a little bit. And now we will miss some parts of this height. So what we will do is to multiply this by 1.2 maybe. And this will make sure I have all the parts of my landscape in place. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is to go to my landscape here, and if I go down and keep scrolling, you will see that I have a new tab that is called Virtual Texture. So what I need to do is click add, and then I will click on my RBT landscape height, like that, and you will see that this one has the height of my landscape. Now, the next thing we need to do is to drag our mesh that we will displace. Because we already have the height data, we can displace our mesh. So let's go to create, let's go to all classes, and let's scroll down until we find our virtual Heightfield mesh, which is this one. So let's just drag this like this, okay? And the first thing we need to do is to set the bounds, how big we want this virtual Heightfield to be. So we will grab this from our RBT height, just like this, okay? And then copy bounds, and it will have the same. We will call this virtual Heightfield mesh, something like that. You can rename this whatever you want, and then we can just click build. And I already have one here. I can delete this if I want, but for now I will just call this 2 just in case. So I will just save it, and it will take a while to load. It's pretty fast actually, so let's wait a little bit. Okay, so now we have our landscape height, and you cannot really see it, and the reason is we haven't really enabled the view on the viewport. So I can just click here on actor hidden in editor, and you will see that I have a mesh here that is displacing all the parts of my mesh. Now if I go here and I go to my material instance, you can see that I have my displacement intensity. I can change this to 10 and or 25. And essentially what this will do is to grab all the details. And what you can see here is that I have all these polygons, that is virtual mesh. So this one we're using a lot of data, and you can see it is displacing nicely. So the next thing we need to do is to put the color on this one. So for now, I'm just going to actor hidden in editor, and now we will work on the color because our mesh doesn't have any material information. Okay, so in order to color this, we need to grab another source of RVT, or runtime virtual texture. This will grab the height. So I will Control W, and I will call it RVT color info, just like that. And here in my virtual texture, I need to put a color. So what I will do is go here, save everything first, and right click materials and create a RVT color info, like that, and make sure this one has the base color, normal, roughness, and specular. This is what we will graph. This is the kind of information we will graph. Okay, and then what we need to do is just to tell the volume that we will use the color information here, just like this. Okay, and the next thing we need to do is to add another virtual texture in our landscape. So here we have the height map, and then we will put the color information, which is here. Now you can see a small thumbnail of what our color information looks like. So now that we have this, we just need to apply the material. So the material for this mesh, we need to grab the information from this texture, these colors, not only the color, but the roughness and everything. And we need to put it in the material, and the material we need to apply to this mesh. So it will be very easy. we just go in here. Let's go back here and let's create a material called Virtual Heightfield Mesh, and then we will call it maybe color info, like that. And if we double click on this, you will see that I can right click and type virtual texture, and I can put a sample, which is basically a sample. Either it can be a parameter or it can be something like this. We will leave it like this for now. So we will need to put the color info here. So like this, we will have the color information, and we will just plug in all this into the right inputs. And now that we have this, we just need to click apply, save. And there you go, we are almost ready. What we need to do is to grab this virtual height mesh, and what we need to apply is the material we just created. So let's Control B to select this, and then what we're going to do is to go here to the material. Go material. Try to select it again, or sorry, this time actor hidden in editor. We won't put that, and the small back here that we need to put the material here, like that. There you go. So now that you have this, now you have the information here. So if you want to make this more evident, we can just go back here to our landscape and we can paint. For example, we can paint this one like this, make it very evident. And we can paint here too, the layer 4. And this should be enough. So you can already see kind of what's going on. So what we need to do is to wait for the shaders to compile, and then we will take a look at the properties. Okay, now that the shaders are compiled, what we can do is to go to our material instance here, and we can put the displacement intensity to something like 200, 0. Check here, like that. Displacement intensity 10, 20, 50, like this. Okay. Now if it doesn't show up, you can go back to color info and just build the texture like that. Okay. Okay, let's check if everything's all right. Okay, so if you don't see anything, make sure you have your actor hidden in editor. It's off, so you can take a look at the virtual Heightfield mesh. And as you can see, we can start seeing bumps of our mesh. Just have a little bit of an issue with the resolution. I need to reopen the map, I guess. But here, my landscape, sorry, in my landscape here, I can just paint, for example, this one. We can paint here. Go, something like this, and it will compile the shaders, and you will see how it blends with the height. So let's just wait a little bit for the shaders to compile. And of course, here you can change the displacement intensity. So let's wait for the shaders to compile. Just take 1 second. Okay, there you go. And now you can see that I have my texture here. So if I put 0, see that I have just 0 here, and I can increase the displacement intensity 10 or 50. I'm not exactly sure. You know, this one looks like this, and then this is the the fake one, but you can see we have height information here. I will restart the editor to check if there's something good with the resolution, but this is how you will apply height field mesh here. The problem with this is that if you play here, you will see that your character is underground. Now this is a very common issue, so just be aware of it. Actually, this kind of issue can happen with the Unreal Engine 4 displacement too, so just be aware of that. So another thing you may want to check is the size of the virtual texture in terms of resolution. So now, if we take a look at our current resolution, it's very high, but the virtual height field mesh is very low. So what you need to do is to go here to your content browser and click on the runtime virtual texture you just create. In this case, is the color. And here you will increase the resolution. For example, by default it's 8, but if we click on do something like 10, I will have a 1024, and 11 I will have a 2K texture, and this will give me a lot of resolution to work with. So the same can be done, like here for example, size of each virtual texture tile can increase to 4 maybe, or 5. Okay, so it's personal preference. And here in the landscape height, you can do the same. We can increase the resolution of the height to something like 10 or 11, which is the original size of this. And now you will see that I have a much better resolution for the height. If you see here the 8, it looks something like this, but if I put 11, it's much more accurate. So now that I can just go here, and you will see that here my virtual height field mesh, it's not really coming here actually. There you go. So I just be aware that when you move, it will change the resolution. Another thing you can do is to play with the material instance, and you can increase the displacement for like 0 or 100 if you want. If you have like a shot that you don't need to walk in, then can give you a lot of details like this. So by putting this virtual height mesh, you can have much more resolution. Now I feel like the height it's a little bit too much, so I will go to my height and I will just change this one for something like 8 or 9 is better. So it's not as as exact as it should be, but it's not as noisy. But if you want, you can just go for the size of 11 and you will have all the small little details here. Okay, so before wrapping up this tutorial, what I want to show you is how you can spawn different meshes automatically using the grass types. So the first thing I need to do is to find something I like. So I went to Quixel here, so I go here to Quixel content, and I found this wild grass here. If I just type the dry and grass, I will just add this one. And I can just put some of them, for example, like this one, I can just download it. And then after it's finished, I can add it. So feel free to find any asset you want. I find that the more variations you have, for example, you have something like this, then you will have much more realistic results. For example, you can have a light one, and then you can have a darker one. I'll notice that I'm using the medium quality. I don't really need to go that high, so I will just add this one. So the next thing I need to do is to create a grass type. So the way this is gonna work is that I'm going to paint my landscape here, for example, and I'm going to spawn procedurally just plants here, just like this. So I need some things. First, what I need to do It's to create this asset, the procedural grass. Okay, that's one thing. And then I need to tell the landscape in this data, for example, it can be layer 6. In this data, you will spawn this procedural asset. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is to go back here. Let's go back to our content browser, and then let's save everything. And what we're gonna do is to right click foliage, and then we will create a landscape grass type. Okay, and let's just call this dry grass, something like that. Okay, and let's remove this. And here you can add all the meshes you want. For example, I can add the mesh I just add. If I go to my megascans, go to 3D plants, I can just go to these plants here, for example, maybe this one. Okay, I can just go here and just put it here on grass mesh. Okay, let's just make sure this is the LOD. So let's go back here. Yeah, this is my static mesh, and I will just drag it here. Grass. There you go. Something like that. Okay, so now that you have this, now we need to tell the landscape that I'm going to paint here and you're going to spawn this. So for example, we can specify that maybe number 8 can be our candidate. So if we paint here, see what happens. Paint, or maybe L5, it doesn't matter. So we will just let it load for a little bit. And for now, what we need to do is to specify the grass type. Example 8 should be, but 8 actually is the type each, so I don't really want to use this. Let's take a look at this one. No, this one, not really. This one should be okay. Okay, layer 5 looks like the best candidate. So what I need to do is to create a grass type. And if I type landscape, you will see that I have a landscape grass output. And what this has is that it has a grass type. And here you can see I have my dry grass. And my name will be my L5. Make sure the name is right. Okay. And then you will go to landscape and just go to layer sample. So this is the sample that we will tell the material that you will grab some parts of the layer 5 data, and you will put it here and you will spawn this grass. So the way to do it is just put the parameter name as L5. Remember that the name needs to be exact. So once we do that, we just connect these two and hit apply, and everything should be good to go actually. Let's save it. Okay. Okay, so now that this is finished, let's just close all this so we don't have extra things to work on. This one, maybe we need to restart here. So now what I want to do is to paint my layer 5, that is this one. I'm going to paint it here. For example, let's just put the example of this. We're going to paint here, and we're going to wait a little bit until everything loads. Okay, so this is the sand. Just wait for all the shaders finish. Okay, so now that this is finished, all my layers are working. And as you can see, I'm spawning this mesh here. Now, if I want to make it a little bit better, I can modify the properties of this landscape grass layer. So I can just go here to control space, and I can go to my materials, and here in my dry grass, I just need to maybe find another mesh, perhaps this one. Okay, that's one thing. So what I can do is to make it a little bit different. For example, I can change the grass density to 800. Now this will spawn more grass. And then I can change the size, for example, 0.7 and 2.1 or 2.5, like this. Okay, and this will give me a lot. So let's just put this like 200 or 400. Okay, the other thing we can do is basically change the culling distance. So basically you can put this one on 0, and this will take care of the LODs. Example 0, you will not see anything. Okay, but if you put like 100 or 1000, you will start seeing. So basically this is the radius here, like 1000, you can see something. Okay, and then you can put like 10,000 if you want, make it a little bit better. So now that you have this, you can just come here and play. And now you have your height field that is actually messing up with your grass. So for now, what I will do, and I will actor hidden in game. And now I will be able to see my grass type. So let's just come back here. Okay. And now I'm spawning my grass. So another thing you can do is to, maybe you want to duplicate this, but now you will use another one. For example, you want to use this one. Okay, and now you have something like this. And you can change the density to 20, and the density also here also change to 10. Usually in this kind of dry areas, you don't have much plants, so you can just put it like that. So if you want to just play from here, you will see you have your grass and it's spawning automatically. Okay, now this is entirely optional and you can play with the values and you can actually put any mesh you want. So this concludes so far our landscape tutorial. There are a lot of topics we have covered, and there are a lot too that we will cover in the future, more advanced topics. But for now, the last thing that I want to do is to show you how you can create an entirely new landscape just by changing the master material. So let's do that. So let's say you want to create an entirely new landscape, and as you can see, there are a lot of process behind this. So the idea is that you save this material, and I will share it with you, so that you can create any landscape easily using the same setup. So the first thing we're gonna do is to create the parameters for our material. So let's start by converting this into a parameter, and I will do one part and then I will continue to do the same for the rest of the layers. So for now, right click, convert to parameter, and this will be my L2 albedo, and then this will be also my L2 albedo. So Control C, make sure it's the same parameters so that we use the same texture. And here we will put L2 normal, and then we will put the L2 normal here, just like that. And then we will put L2 mask, and then do the same here on L2 mask here. And I will do the same for the rest. Okay, so I finish just renaming everything. And the next thing I need to do is to group them. So I will select all of those by holding Control, and I will put a group here called maybe inputs. So let's select all of those like that. And then the group will be inputs, just like that. And then what I have here, it's my tiling. So this will be my, all this will be my global parameters. So let's come back here and this will be my global parameters. So let's call this global. And here it will be my automatic landscape. So I will select all of those just like this. Okay, make sure I select everything, and also this one. Okay, and what I need to do is to group them and put automatic material just like that. And also this texture sample, I need to make sure it's a parameter, so I will right click and convert to parameter, and this will be my auto let's just say landscape mask like that, and I will put it into my automatic material, and looks like it's good to go. Let's go back here, and this we will put this into global and stop previewing this node, and make sure this one is also the from texture asset. This will be a shared wrap texture so that we have more textures available for us. Let's go back here. Okay, and now it will take a while to compile the shaders, but meanwhile what we can do is to check our material instance. Automatic material, it will have all these parameters. The global will have this. The height blend contrast, it should be in the global. So let's go back to global, and this one should be here. Height blend contrast is in global. So let's hit apply. And now we have everything more organized. We have all our textures and then our parameters, and also here our landscape mask. So what we're gonna do is to create a new landscape using this. So we're gonna do that now. So one of the things you can do to organize your materials a little bit better is to create functions. So I arranged this a little bit because I'm going to prepare this material for you. So what I want to do is to create a function that I can reuse here in my material so that I can, you know, just make this a little bit better. So what I will do is to grab all of this, okay, and I will copy, and I will copy this one, and that should be it. So I will Control C, and then I will go to my content browser here, and here in material functions I created a new one. You can right click materials and textures, then create a material function here. I already have one here. So what I did was just to copy and arrange this. So let me do this again. Just copy and it will look like that. So we need to arrange this a little bit, just like that. Okay. So the other thing you want to do is to change the textures. You want to come back to your content browser here. Let's go to Window, Content Browser, and let's just drag the Megascan surface. And this should be the sand. So I will drag it, and actually let's just use this one that we already have. We don't really need to do that anymore. So this will be my far texture, and this will be my close texture. So now that I have this, I can connect this to my output, and this will be my material. Okay. And then the contrast, I can create another output. So function output, there you go. And this one will be my height with contrast. Okay, so we don't really do this operation again. So what we need to do is to replace this with functions. So let's right click and function input, and this will be a scalar parameter, and my name will be height length contrast, just like that. Okay, so for this one we can use the preview as a default, and let's just put 1. Let's just put 4 here for all the values. Okay, and now that we have 4 in all the values, we can just put it here, just like that. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is to replace the inputs of this one. For example, the close tiling, we're going to just duplicate this one and put it here, and let's call it close tiling scalar parameter. Just put 1 for now, and we need to make this a parameter that for sure we need to plug in. So let's remove this, Control W, and this will be my bar tiling. There we go, and I can replace this. I don't need these parameters right now. And then you have the fade length. I can also use this as a... Actually, the fade length will be a little bit different. The fade length will be a parameter I control for all my landscapes. Although you can really make this one very specific for this landscape. We can just put it like that, like fade length, and leave it as a default here. Default value is 1000, like that, and we put it here. Okay, now we need to remove this, and now the only parameters are these ones. Okay, so the thing is, here you will have the output with the contrast, and you will have all these inputs. So let's check how it looks in the master material. So what I need to do is to go here to my content browser, and here in my materials, I can go to my material functions and just save everything. And here I can go to my landscape master, and I can just replace this. So my close styling will be a number, so I don't really need the full function here. So the fire tiling will be this one. The fade length will be this one. Okay, although we could make this a material parameter collection, otherwise it's gonna be very annoying. Okay, so this is my parameters, and this is how I have my height, width, contrast, and the material. Now you notice that my material is on the bottom, so what I can do is to sort the priority. For example, this one will be 1, and hit apply, and now my material will be on top always. So the last thing I want to do is, because I have this far tiling and this close tiling and this fade length, I want to use this as a material parameter collection so that I don't need these inputs. Okay, I will remove these inputs, and instead I can just use the parameter. So let's start with the fade length, which is, I think it's the most important one. So for the fade length, we're going here for content browser, and here in the materials, we're going to right click materials and then go to material parameter collection, and we will call it NPC, and then landscape, just like that. Okay, and then here we're going to start calling all the parameter collections that we have. Case is my fade length, so we will call it fade length, and by default will be 1000. Okay, So now that we have this, what we can do is to go here, and instead of using this input, we're going to grab the material parameter. Okay, so material parameters collections won't work here. So what you need to do is to go to the landscape master, and here in fate length, sorry, material parameter. There you go, collection parameter. Let's try to do the same here. Collection parameter, there you go, it works. So here we need to specify which parameter we're gonna use. So we're going to use the landscape we created, and the parameter name will be the fate length. So we just go here. Okay, and now we will lose the connections here. So now you have the close tiling and the far tiling. You can either put the tiling for each node separately, but to make this one a little bit more organized, let's call two more, which is close tiling and far tiling. So for me, I want the close tiling to be something like 0.1, and then the far tiling it's going to be like maybe 0.01. Okay, just to start. And just like that, this is how we can create functions. This is an optional step, but I wanted to put it anyway. So here, what I need to do is to choose Control C, Control V, and here we will put the far tiling here, and we will put it here, and we will do the connection, and we will duplicate this, and this will be my close tiling, and just like that, I'm gonna put it here, hit apply, and now if we go here, we just have our sand, which is our height blend contrast, which we can control. So instead of using this, we can just delete this, just like this, and then we can use this node. And I can do the same for the rest of them until I finish all my library of materials that I can use. Okay, so to create new material functions is just very easy. You can just right click in any one of those and just duplicate. You can either do that or create an instance. And here in the instance, you will see that you have like different parameters. So in, in, in case you don't want to use that instance, you can just duplicate like this and change the textures. For example, this one will be my, not this one, I don't really like this one anymore, so I will change it for this one. So I will use the Icelandic. So just like that, I will go here and just change those, just like this. Okay, and here I can just change this, and then here I will just change this again, and that's it. Now the only thing left is to change the albedo input. So what I will do is to put my, let me recall the name, Icelandic rock. Just put Icelandic rock albedo, and let's copy all of those and then paste it, and then do the same here, but just put normal. Okay, and then copy, paste. One will be the mask, and this one will be the mask, and that's it. And you hit apply. And the next thing you need to do is to change the name, of course, to Icelandic rock, just like that. And that's it. And this is how you can create different material functions. Here, actually, like you can change the texture, but it will have conflict with the original material, so just be aware of that. So now that we have our master material, it's very easy to create another landscape. For example, I can create a badlands just like this and use the erosion to create a new one. And what I need to do is just to connect all of this here. But there is an easier way. And if you check this bottom, it will say mutate nodes, randomize seeds. It means that it will randomize everything. In my case, this is my previous landscape. If I click on this, it will tell you that it will randomize everything. Are you sure of that? You just click yes, okay? And once you do that, it will take a while to load, to randomize everything, and then we'll pause and we will see the results soon. Okay, so just like that, we created another variation, but you know, it looks pretty much the same. So what I will do is just create another one, for example, this one, okay? And this one will have like, you know, it will just look different. And I can just click here. And what I can do is just to change the outputs, just like this. I can put it here. I can put it here. I just wait a little bit, like that. And if you want to overlay this, just put this one and then drag it again. And then drag it again. Okay. So now we can take a look at our mask. This is our flow mask. Okay, this one looks okay. Let's take a look at this one. And with my height command, let's take a look at how it looks. So this one is black. So what we need to do is to adjust the height, maybe from 0. Maybe it's as too much fall off, so we can put like 4, or maybe 6. Okay, we start seeing something. So we can put like, or we can make the fall off like 2, but we can increase the max to 50 maybe. Check if this works. Okay, that was too much. Let's go to 25. Okay, let's go to 12. Let's go back to 15. 18. I think that should be it. Okay, so from 0 to 18. So this one should be naturally from 18 to whatever number I have here. And let's put the fall of like 2, like that. Okay, so now I have different masks here, and just like that, I can have different texturing in my landscape. So that's pretty cool. And my RGB mix will look something like this. Okay, great. So now that I have this, I can just click build and I can export this. Now I already have the hatch built, so I will just click yes. And now I have my landscape ported, which is good. Now I can create an entirely new material using this one. Okay, so now we have our texture here, but the problem is we didn't export the height map. And in order to fix this, we just need to click here and export. And we can rename this. I'm gonna export this as a PNG this time. Okay, remember this one needs to be your export, otherwise you will export this one and you don't want this. So let's go to erosion here, and here I'm calling it landscape Greenland, so let's just start build. I already have the cat, so let's use that. And let's just wait a little bit until we have it. And as you can see, the process of creating new landscapes is a little bit of back and forth. Basically, you need to wait a lot for the process to compile and do everything. But once you have it, of course, you have a very big landscape. So now that we have this, let's go here to our landscape and let's create an entirely new one. So the first thing we need to do is to import some textures. So if I go here to my Quixel content, I already have some textures that I import, such as this one and this one and this one, I think. So maybe I will try to export this one. Okay, so I can have more options. So now that I have my textures here, the only thing I need to do is to create my new landscape with my new textures. And of course, I need to import the new texture I just created. So I just go to my builds, and this will be the last one. And I already have it here. You can see different. And this one, make sure you put mask, okay? So now that you have this, let's open a new level. I have a new level for this. It's just a blank empty level. And now let's create a new landscape. And let's browse to our new landscape here. It's this one. Okay, make sure it's 2K, exactly as Gaea, and just click import. Okay, so now that we have this, the only thing we need to do is to put another material. So what we will do is to go to our materials here, and here in sand we're just going to duplicate and we will call it Greenland. Okay, so here I will do a couple of changes. So this one I want to, this one it can stay. The rocky soil, I want to put another one. So let's go back here. Maybe I can try this one. So I will put this one here, and then this one here, and then this one here. And then go to the sand. We will put another one. So let's go to our rocky ground here. We can change the sand for this one, change the normal, and then change the mask. Okay, like I said before, the names of these ones can be a little bit confusing if you don't name them by the number. But in any case, I wanted to show the case where what happens when you rename the material instance with the material itself and not by a number. Okay, so sandy rock, of course I will change it. So let's go back to maybe this one. I think it's a good one. Go here. Okay, and the shoreline, we can put another one and just go to our, maybe take a look some of the options we have. Maybe this one. Okay, here, then let's put it here, and just like that we have our new material. But we need to change the mask to use this one. Okay, make sure you use the new one, and the rest of the parameters is the same. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is to apply this material here. So we will put the material here, the Greenlands, and now we will go to our landscape and go to paint mode, and you just need to create a new layer weight like that, and I need to do the same for all my layers. But you can see already that this is working quite well. Okay, so let's go back here and put the layer here, and then the layer here, and do the same thing. And as you can see, I reduced the number of layers because it was getting a little bit heavy. Okay, now save everything. And now you have your automatic material, and this is an entirely new material that you can use. And if you don't like something here, you can just paint here with the brush here. And because we are using the height blend, it will be very nice. It will have a very nice blend here. And you can have a very big brush if you want and just paint everything just like that. And of course, you can change this if you want to create a path or something. You can just put it like this, like that. Okay. And as you can see, I have a really nice blend between the two, like that. Okay. So this is basically our tutorial for landscapes. If you want to make this a little bit better, well, one thing you can do is to go to project settings and go to fog and make sure you support atmospheric sky atmosphere affecting height fog. So here what I will do is to create a new exponential height fog, and now that I have this, I need to put the fog interscattering color to 0 and the directional interscattering uh, this this value 0, whatever it is, so that I'm using the sky atmosphere colors. And another thing you can do is to go to your directional light and create light shafts. So now you can just go here and change to have a nice lining like that. Can put something like this, for example. With Control L, you can just rotate the light. Let's just say there's something you want. So let's put the intensity to 3.43 maybe. And just like that, we can have a new landscape. Okay, so now that we have this, it's very easy. Now we created an entirely new landscape using our master material. And of course, this has an automatic material. So the idea is that you make tweaks manually when you start building your level. Now that will take a lot of more hours to build the level, but it's something we may do in the future. So we want to decorate this level. We may want to show you some techniques for world building, but that's it. So thanks a lot for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more of this, and let us know in the comments which kind of video you would like to watch. And of course, make sure to check our store where we have a lot of free stuff and a lot of paid stuff that is awesome for game development. And I will see you in the next one.